Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another day of Vlogmas. This past weekend, we had a family get together and I cooked a bunch of awesome food. So I'm going to share that with you in today's video. So I'm just going to start out by planning out my menu and what I need to get at the grocery store. We had some family back in town recently, and so I wanted to have everyone over to our house for dinner. I thought it was the perfect excuse to do that, and Adam was going to smoke a couple of pork butts, which he always does a really awesome job with anything that he does on the smoker. So I knew that it would be a big hit, and I made some sides, and I also had some family bring some sides as well. So I just had him do the pork, and then I am going to make some macaroni and cheese. I have a really great mac and cheese recipe that I always use. I'm also going to make some coleslaw, and then I'm also going to make some homemade potato salad. Of course, this is like high stakes pressure because my grandma is going to be one of the people coming over, and it's her recipe for potato salad. So I had to get it just right. No, I'm just kidding. But then I made sure to have drinks as well. And then my one aunt was going to bring some broccoli salad as well as some beer and some wine. And then my other aunt brought a couple of desserts. She made a pumpkin pie and some scotcheroos, and she also brought some deviled eggs. So I'm just going to finish getting my meal sort of plan mapped out here and then write my grocery list and get to the store. And when we get back, I will show you all of the food in progress. Take a second and thank Evite for sponsoring today's video. If you guys aren't familiar with them, Evite offers thousands of free invitation options. All of them are fully customizable for your occasion. So whether you're hosting a birthday, a wedding, a baby shower, or a holiday party, whatever you're celebrating, no matter how big or small, Evite has the perfect invitation on their website. I took this opportunity to send one out for our family gathering. I also was trying to do a little bit of a football theme. I did not make the invitation football themed. I kind of made it more of a generic family gathering. Here's a look at the design that I use. It's just this really pretty floral and blue pattern up at the top, and it just says join us as we gather. And so in the customizable field there, I just put for a family dinner, and then it has a spot that you can put in who's hosting and your phone number and your address and all of the other information that people need to know. It was super easy to do this. The process was very fast, like less than 10 minutes from start to finish, and everyone that I emailed the invitation to in my family thought it was super cute and they were really impressed with it. I've always been someone that has liked to send out paper invitations to parties in the past, but it's just so easy and simple now to do it online that honestly, I will definitely be using this service over and over again anytime I want to have people over to my house. In fact, I'm going to be hosting a cookie decorating brunch in December, and we'll probably use Evite as well. So if you guys want to try it out, you can head over to evite.com/Chapin to choose from thousands of designs, and you can create and send invitations for free. I will have a link in the description box below. You can click on that. Once again, the link is evite.com/Chapin to choose from thousands of design options to create and send your invitations for free. Okay, so I'm just going to share with you a couple of shots of Adam as he does the smoked pork. This is the seasoning that he's using. It's from Big Mo Cason, and it's the pork rub. He's actually local here in Iowa and sells at several different grocery stores, but any barbecue rub that you want to use will work just fine. Adam actually smoked these the day before, which worked out fine. They take usually about 12 to 16 hours on the smoker, so it's imperative to do it the day before, and then we just end up warming them up in a crock pot. So he's got 2 large pork butt roasts here. We just rub those with mustard and seasoning, and then he's injecting them with a brine solution, and then for the remainder of the brine, he just kind of brushes that on the pork as they are on the smoker. He has, I think it's called a Camp Chef smoker, and it's an electric pellet smoker, but he does a really great job. You guys have seen me share before where he's done like briskets and hams and things like that, but this pork turned out really, really delicious. If you guys want a dedicated smoking video, let me know and I can see if he would do that for you, because I cannot really explain the process from start to finish. That is more his end of things, but either way, I'm there to eat it and make the sides. All right, so the first thing that I'm gonna work on this morning for the get together tonight is potato salad, and that is because I want it to be able to sit all day and kind of meld flavors. So I made potato salad on my channel. It's been a while now. It's probably been almost a year, but what I'm gonna do is take some russet potatoes and I boil these whole because that helps keep them intact and not watery. I've rinsed these off basically. I'm just gonna fill this up with cold water and set it on the stove. All right, if I had to guess, I would say this is probably about 5 pounds of russet potatoes. I did put a little bit of salt in there. So I've got my big stock pot here. I'm just gonna cover this. These are gonna take quite a while to boil. I would say maybe 20 to 30 minutes, obviously depending on the size of your potatoes. I also need eggs for potato salad. I'm gonna do 8 eggs because then I'll have extra. Connor really likes hard-boiled eggs for breakfast, so they'll definitely get eaten. Okay, so for my eggs, what I like to do when I do them on the stovetop is I just cover them with cold water. I turn the heat on and then I bring them to a boil. Once they come to a boil, I shut it off, put the lid on, let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes, and it makes perfect hard-boiled eggs. Okay, so my eggs have been sitting for about 10 minutes. I just have a bowl here. Actually, it's my salad spinner bowl that I filled up with ice and cold water, and I'm going to just place the eggs in there, and then I'll just keep them in there until they're completely cool and we can peel them. Okay, so my potatoes have been boiling, I would say maybe about 25-30 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off and then just let them sit here for maybe 10 minutes to just finish cooking through the rest of the way. A lot of the smaller potatoes are already cooked through, but some of the larger ones need to finish cooking. Okay, so once my potatoes were cooled, I just put them out on a clean kitchen towel here, and then you can easily peel them. Some of them you can just like rub the peel off, but some of them you do need a paring knife or a peeler for. So these are still a little bit warm, but they're cool to the touch. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel these and dice them up and get them into a bowl. Okay, so I've got all my potatoes cubed in this bowl. I actually had a little bit extra that wouldn't fit, so I just cubed them and put them in a Ziploc bag, and we'll save these. They're good for like fried potatoes if you want to do like a breakfast scramble or something like that. So the next step is to season the potatoes before we put the dressing on. So the way we do that is a couple of tablespoons of vinegar. I would say not any more than maybe 1.5 tablespoons, because you don't want it too vinegary. You just want like a little bit of tang. So I just drizzle a little bit over and give it a little bit of a toss. I'm using this fork just because I want to try to do this as lightly as possible. We don't want to like break up the potatoes too much. But since these potatoes are still a tiny bit warm, they're not like hot anymore. It'll absorb some of that vinegar. So this is my grandma's recipe, and she's coming over today, so the pressure is on. This is the seasoning that she uses in her potato salad. It's called Alpine Touch. I have no idea where you can get this. I'm sure you can order it online. She gave it to me. So I'm just gonna sprinkle some of this seasoning over there. And don't over season this. You can always add more seasoning. This has salt, onion, pepper, and garlic in it. Okay, we're just gonna give one a taste quick. Maybe a little bit more. I don't measure when I make potato salad because it depends on a lot of things. It depends on how many potatoes you use. It depends on how dry your potatoes are, how long you cook them, all of those things. Okay, those are the potatoes. Now I'm gonna go ahead and peel my eggs, but I did peel one, so I'll just show you what I'm gonna do with this one. I have an egg slicer here, and I'm just gonna put the egg in one way, clamp it down, rotate it the other way, and then do this, and then it chops the egg, and then it'll be distributed throughout the potato salad. So I think I'm gonna do 3 or 4 eggs like that, and then the others I'll just slice and put on top. Okay, so I've got my potatoes and my eggs in here. Next, I'm going to do some onion. So this is definitely your preference on how much onion you use. I personally don't like a lot of onion in my potato salad, so I'm probably only gonna use half of this onion, and I'm gonna mince it super small. So this is about as fine as I like it. So I'm gonna put this in the bowl. Okay, so we're gonna make the dressing for the potato salad. By the way, I ordered a new one of these, Anchor Hawking bowls. You can see it looks like this one is striped, but I think it's just from the dishwasher. Anyway, I ordered a new one because this one is getting kind of worse for the wear. So what we're gonna use for the dressing for this is half Miracle Whip, half regular mayo. That's how my grandma does it. And then she also adds a little bit of half and half to thin it out. Salt, pepper, vinegar. That's basically it. This is a very like classic plain potato salad. Obviously there are many varieties out there that you can choose from, you know, if you want to make like a bacon ranch potato salad, but this is just classic. So I would say that's probably a cup and a half of mayo. I'm gonna do about the same amount of Miracle Whip. I'm gonna pour in some half and half. As you can see, I don't measure this at all. We're gonna start with maybe 2 tablespoons of white vinegar and season with some salt and then some pepper. All right, and then I'm gonna give this a whisk. I feel like it needs to be thinned out a little bit, so I'm gonna add a little bit more, half and half. All right, we're gonna give this a taste. I think that's probably about good. You have to remember that potatoes are gonna soak up a ton of this dressing. Make more than you think you need, and that'll probably be enough. I wonder if I should mix this in a larger container. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna rinse out the pot I cooked the potatoes in. We're gonna mix it up in that. This pot is cool, by the way. It's not hot anymore. Okay, so we're gonna put in most of the dressing to start. We'll leave a little bit left in there and see if it needs any more. So here's what this looked like after you mix it up. I tasted it. I actually added a little bit of seasoned salt, which I don't always add, but I saw it in the cover and I'm like, oh, that would be good. And I added a little bit more of this alpine touch, or you could add salt and pepper, but it tastes good. And now you can see I used every bit of that dressing and it really soaked it up. In fact, I might be a little bit more comfortable with a little bit more dressing, but that's fine. To finish this off, all I'm gonna do is take a couple of the hard-boiled eggs that I had and just give them a slice. And then I just like to arrange them on the top. I guess before I do that, I'm gonna add some pepper to make it look pretty. And then I kind of like to try and like fan these out. I don't know, like I'm fancy. I'll have to let you guys know if this passes my grandma's test. All right, so we've got our homemade old-fashioned potato salad. I'm gonna go ahead and cover this up, get it in the fridge, and it'll be perfect by the time we need to eat later. Okay, so this is the pork that Adam smoked. We actually had 2 trays of this from the 2 pork roasts. So I've got one of them in the crock pot here. It's about 4 hours before we're gonna eat, so I figured I would just kind of warm it up on low. I've got it on high right now just to kind of come to temperature. I think I'm gonna put half of this in there, and then
I would let that warm so that the pork au jus melts down a little bit.
Okay.
And it should settle in there. Once it starts to warm up, you'll be able to get more in.
Okay. All right, but it turned out super good. All right, so we're gonna make some coleslaw for tonight. This is the recipe I use. I can link it down below. It's from Top Secret Recipes. It's the KFC coleslaw recipe. Now, I normally use bagged shredded cabbage because that's obviously very, very easy, but they didn't have that at the grocery store yesterday, so I did buy a head of cabbage. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop that up in the food processor. And then I also have some shredded carrots and just a little package of purple cabbage too, just to give it some color. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this in half, and then we'll cut it in half again. And then that will allow you to take the core out just like that. And then probably what I'll do is just cut this up into chunks like this. And we'll put this part in the food processor and pulse it. All right, so you do have to make sure with this that you don't make like a cabbage paste out of it because it chops up very, very quickly. I will say too that when you do it on your own in a food processor, that's actually closer to what KFC has. Because if you've ever had their coleslaw before, you notice that it's not actually shredded coleslaw. It's like chopped like this. Just a quick distinction there in case you were wondering. I thought this was actually going to be a lot more. I was kind of worried that I wouldn't have too much cabbage, but I actually think this is going to work out well. So I'm just going to continue to chop this in the food processor here, and then I'll show you how we make the dressing. Okay, so I also chopped up some of the purple cabbage and I have that in there. And then I also put in, I don't know, maybe about a cup of carrots. They were already shredded, but I kind of want everything, you know, uniform. So since I already have the food processor out, I actually think I'm gonna do my onion in there too quick. All right, so I've got my cabbage mixture. I've got green cabbage, red cabbage, carrots, and onion. If you don't have green cabbage or you don't want to buy it, just leave that part out. We're gonna go ahead and make the dressing for the coleslaw. In here I have about half a cup of mayo. I actually used the rest of that container of Miracle Whip whip as well, just so I could get it used up. I'm gonna add in here 1/4 cup of milk. I'm also gonna add 1/4 cup of buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk on hand, just use extra milk. It works out just fine. 1/3 cup of sugar. And we also need some lemon juice, about 2.5 tablespoons of that. I really like these little measuring cups that I have. I have several different brands. I'll link this one I have down below. I got it on Amazon, but they're great for recipes like this because if you want to measure out multiple tablespoons of a liquid, it's much easier to do it in something like this than a spoon. We'll put the lemon juice in there, and then I've got some white vinegar. We just need about 1.5 tablespoons of that. And then we'll give this a whisk and make sure everything is combined. So lastly, we're gonna add some pepper, about 1/8 teaspoon, and then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I've been using this coleslaw recipe for like over 10 years now, and it is the best one I've ever found. So I always like to mix the wet ingredients separately because I feel like it gets combined better that way before you mix it in with the slaw. Okay, so now that the dressing is in there, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a toss. All right, so here's my coleslaw. I'm gonna go ahead and stick this in the fridge. I did taste it and add a little bit more salt and pepper, but as this sits, it will break down a little bit more and create more of a dressing. It looks kind of dry right now, but you'll see it later when we pull it out, but it turned out really good. All right, so the last thing that I have to make, and then I'm done, is some macaroni and cheese. So you guys have seen me make this recipe before. I'll link it down below. It's from this 2006 America's Test Kitchen cookbook, rich and cheesy macaroni. So what I've done here to prep is I put about 4 slices of hearty white bread into the food processor and pulsed that up. These are basically like really soft breadcrumbs. That's what we're gonna top the mac and cheese with. And then I've shredded 2 8-ounce packages of very sharp cheddar in the food processor as well. So this recipe serves 6 to 8, but I've got like 15 or 16 people coming over tonight. So what I'm actually gonna do is multiply this by 1.5. I don't quite wanna do 2 servings or 2 batches of it, but I think 1.5 batches will work out well. So over here, I've got 6 tablespoons of butter in a sauce pot. This is where we're gonna make our cheese sauce, so I'm gonna melt that. And then I've got some water coming to a boil here for the macaroni. You want to make sure you use a really large pot to boil the macaroni in because we're going to end up tossing the cheese sauce in with that too before we put it in the baking dish. All right, my butter is melted. I'm going to add some flour, a pinch of sugar, and some salt, and just whisk this around and cook it for a couple minutes. We're going to add 3 cups of milk, and then I'm just going to keep this over medium heat and let it come up to a boil until it is thickened. I did add some pepper too. The recipe doesn't call for pepper, but I always add pepper to my white sauce. All right, so I went ahead and put 4 cups of elbow macaroni in here, and I'm just gonna boil this for about 8 minutes. And my white sauce is thickened here. So I'm going to turn the heat down to medium low, and I'm going to put in 12 ounces of Velveeta that I've cubed up. And then once this melts, we'll add the rest of the ingredients. Okay, so our cheese sauce is done and perfectly smooth and delicious. Now, you're probably going to think this part's weird if you've never seen me make this recipe before, but never fear. So I'm going to put in about 2 cups of cottage cheese and 1 cup of sour cream. And do not worry if you don't like cottage cheese. You're never going to be able to taste it in here. It just makes the cheese sauce really rich and delicious, and it will melt. So I'm going to combine this. All right, so I have drained my macaroni. I'm going to go ahead and put it back in this big pot just because it's easier to stir everything up there. And then I'm gonna add my cheese sauce. So I'm gonna go ahead and stir this up. And if I didn't mention it before, try to undercook your macaroni maybe just about a minute or 2, just because as you mix it with the sauce, it will continue to soften, and obviously we're gonna bake it as well. I'm gonna throw a couple of handfuls of cheddar cheese in here, and then we'll be ready to transfer it to the dish. Okay, so I've got my baking dish here. This is a new baking dish that I got from Sur La Table on their Black Friday sale. I love this. I think it's like charcoal is the color. It's like a black color, and it's got handles on it. It's a 9x13, but it's super deep, so I figured this would be a good dish to use for this mac and cheese. So I'm just gonna spray this real quick to make sure it doesn't stick. And I'm gonna pour in my macaroni. Pretty sure I just got cheese on my tripod. Oh yeah, this is gonna work out great. Okay, so I'm just gonna level this out, and then I'm just gonna sprinkle this with cheddar cheese. I don't need to use all of this cheese, probably just about half of it, and then I'll refrigerate the rest. All right, last step is to make the breadcrumb topping. So I've got about 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter here in this bowl. I'm gonna add 3 good handfuls of these breadcrumbs and then just stir that up so that the breadcrumbs get tossed in the butter. And then last step is we're gonna sprinkle these buttered breadcrumbs over the top, and this is gonna make a really nice crunchy crust. This part's optional, but I do tend to like it. So there's our mac and cheese all ready. I'm gonna set this aside and probably end up baking it in about, I don't know, 30 to 45 minutes. All right, so the last thing that I'm going to put together is this charcuterie board. So I actually picked up this board at Walmart. It was around $20, so it's pretty inexpensive. You also might have seen me use this in my Thanksgiving video, but I saw on Pinterest where someone kind of created a football themed board, and in the middle, they basically put a football shape of pepperoni, and then they used like some white cheddar cheese to make the laces of a football. I thought it was super cute, and Adam thought it was cheesy, but I don't care. I thought it was cute, so that's what I'm gonna do. And then I'm just going to arrange like some different cheeses and nuts and spreads and things around the outside. So for the laces of the football, I just used some white cheddar cheese. You could use any type of white cheese, mozzarella or Monterey Jack. I thought that white cheese would go well with this, so that's what I decided to use. I had some club crackers in the pantry, so I decided to put some of those down. Also previously had Connor pick all of the red and yellow M&Ms out of a bag of multicolored M&Ms to signify Chiefs colors. He had a lot of fun doing that, and so I added that to the board as well. I wanted to see if I could find like some either, you know, football or some Chiefs themed dishes, but I couldn't find any. It's really hard to find Chiefs themed stuff in the stores around here because it's not one of our big football teams. Probably, you know, more in southern Iowa and in Missouri, obviously it would be easier able to find stuff. But so I just basically went through my cupboards and found anything red and yellow that I could find, like red and yellow dishes, and it ended out working out just fine. I also had these multicolored tomatoes, the red and yellow ones, so I thought those would look cute in one of my red bowls. I also had some of these barbecue pretzels that I had gotten at Fairway, so I arranged those in a yellow bowl as well. I had these little cornichon dill pickles that I wanted to include, so I also included those into a yellow dish. These yellow ramekins are actually Rachel Ray brand. I got them many years ago, and then that red speckled mug is actually from Starbucks, and then a couple of the smaller like red and yellow dishes I used are from Pioneer Woman. I also add some of this raspberry jalapeno jam because I thought that would be really good with the sharp cheddar cheese and the crackers, and then I added some herbed cashews as well. All right, so I think this turned out pretty cute. Honestly. So we've got some club crackers here, some raspberry jalapeno jam that goes really well with this sharp white cheddar, some Colby Jack, some of these herb roasted cashews, some red and yellow peppers that I cut out with a star cookie cutter, some red and yellow tomatoes. In the middle, I've got some pepperoni with like the laces to represent a football, some wheat thins, some chocolate covered strawberries, some pickles, some more peppers over here, some red and yellow M&Ms, these smoky barbecue pretzels that are really good. This is what the container looks like, and then some smoked pepper jack cheese. So I'm gonna go stick this in the fridge until everyone comes over. So unfortunately, I did not get a shot of everything out, like all the dishes out on the island buffet style, but here I'm showing you one of our plates. We had the barbecue pork, which turned out so delicious on buns. My sister made some corn casserole. My aunt made broccoli salad. We had deviled eggs and coleslaw and some mac and cheese, and it all turned out so delicious. And the best part was that we also had leftovers as well, a lot of them. Here are the cookies that I arranged out. I had these Loft House cookies, and I just basically alternated them between red and yellow for Chiefs colors. But this dinner was super fun to cook, and I had a lot of fun hosting everyone and having them over. Thanks you guys for coming along with me today. I hope that you enjoyed. Don't forget to check out Evite for all of your invitation needs. You can choose from thousands of design options to create and send invitations for free. I'll have that link in the description box below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for another day of Vlogmas. Bye.